What if I told you that your body is producing a chemical right now that could be silently aging you, making you gain weight, destroying your sleep, and wiring your brain for anxiety, and most people have absolutely no idea it's happening to them? That chemical is cortisol, the one popularized recently by clavicular and other looks-maxing influencers. And today, I'm going to show you 10 ridiculously simple ways to bring it down fast. Before we get into the list, let me paint a picture for you. Imagine two people. One wakes up exhausted even after 8 hours of sleep, craves sugar and carbs constantly, feels irritable for no obvious reason, and carries stubborn weight around their belly no matter how much they exercise. The other wakes up refreshed, thinks clearly, maintains a healthy weight without obsessing over food, and handles stress without falling apart. The difference between those two people often comes down to one hormone, cortisol. And here is the good news. You have way more control over it than you think. Cortisol itself is not your enemy. Your adrenal glands release it in the morning to help you wake up. It helps you respond to threats, and it manages inflammation in the short term. The problem is chronic elevation. When cortisol stays high for weeks, months, or even years, which happens incredibly easily in modern life, it starts doing serious damage. So let's talk about how to fix it. Number 1. Fix your morning light exposure. This one sounds too simple to be life-changing, but the science behind it is rock solid. Your body runs on a circadian rhythm, a roughly 24-hour biological clock that governs nearly every system in your body, including cortisol release. When you get natural sunlight in your eyes within the first 30 to 60 minutes of waking up, you signal your brain's master clock that the day has officially started. This anchors your cortisol curve properly, meaning it peaks in the morning when you actually need it, and drops off at night when you need to wind down. People who skip morning light exposure, especially those who wake up and immediately stare at their phones in a dark room, completely scramble this curve. Their cortisol stays elevated at the wrong times, particularly in the evening, which wrecks sleep and keeps the stress cycle running. So tomorrow morning, get outside for even 5 or 10 minutes. No sunglasses, just walk around, drink your coffee outside, or sit on a porch. It genuinely works. Number 2. Stop skipping breakfast or eating a terrible one. Here is something most people do not realize. When you wake up and your body has gone without food for 8 or more hours, your cortisol is already at its natural daily peak. If you then skip breakfast or drink only coffee, your body interprets that as a stress signal. Caffeine without food actually spikes cortisol further and keeps it elevated longer than it should be. A protein-rich morning meal. We are talking eggs, Greek yogurt, cottage cheese, something substantial, blunts that cortisol rise and gives your body a signal that food is available and everything is okay. You do not have to eat immediately upon waking, but if you are someone who skips breakfast and wonders why you feel wired and anxious by mid-morning, this is likely part of why. Number 3. Cold exposure, but done correctly. Cold showers have become a massive trend online, and for good reason. Brief cold water exposure has been shown to actually reduce baseline cortisol over time, improve mood through dopamine and norepinephrine release, and strengthen your stress response system so everyday stressors feel less overwhelming. The key word here is brief. A short cold shower at the end of your regular shower, maybe 30 seconds to 2 minutes, is enough to get the benefits. What you want to avoid is making the cold exposure itself a prolonged, miserable, high-stress experience that floods you with more cortisol than it saves. Keep it short. Keep it consistent. Number 4. Reduce your caffeine intake after noon. Caffeine has a half-life of roughly 5 to 6 hours in most people, though for some it can be much longer. If you drink coffee at 2 in the afternoon, half of that caffeine is still circulating in your system at 7 or 8 in the evening. Caffeine elevates cortisol and also blocks adenosine, the molecule that builds up throughout the day to make you sleepy. The result is elevated cortisol at night, disrupted sleep architecture, and then waking up the next morning already running on a stress deficit. Cutting off caffeine by noon or 1 p.m. is one of the highest leverage moves you can make for your overall cortisol profile. Number 5. Master the physiological sigh. This is not some soft wellness trend. This is backed by neuroscience from Stanford researchers. The physiological sigh is a specific breathing pattern, a double inhale through the nose followed by a long, slow exhale through the mouth. It works faster than any other known technique to reduce acute stress and lower cortisol in real time. The reason it works is because it maximally inflates the lungs and clears carbon dioxide quickly, which activates the parasympathetic nervous system, your rest and digest mode. You can do this anywhere: in your car before a stressful meeting, at your desk when email is overwhelming, before bed. Even just 1 or 2 physiological sighs can meaningfully shift your nervous system state within seconds. Number 6. Prioritize social connection. This one gets underestimated constantly. Human beings are fundamentally social animals, and our nervous systems are literally wired to calm down in the presence of safe, trusted people. Research shows that positive social interaction reduces cortisol. Hugging someone you care about releases oxytocin, which directly counters cortisol. Having a real conversation with a friend activates neural circuits associated with safety and calm. On the flip side, chronic loneliness, which is increasingly common, is one of the strongest known drivers of chronically elevated cortisol. If you are isolating yourself and wondering why your stress feels endless, this could be a significant missing piece. Prioritize real connection. Text someone you have not talked to in a while. Schedule a coffee. Make it non-negotiable. Number 7. Move your body, but not too intensely. Exercise is complicated when it comes to cortisol. Moderate exercise, especially things like walking, swimming, cycling at a comfortable pace, or yoga, consistently lowers cortisol over time and improves your body's stress regulation. However, very high-intensity exercise, think daily intense HIIT sessions or marathon training without adequate recovery, actually spikes cortisol significantly and can contribute to chronic elevation if you never give your body time to recover. The sweet spot for most people is daily moderate movement plus 1 to 3 harder sessions per week maximum, with real rest built in. Walking in particular is extraordinarily powerful. Even a 20 to 30-minute walk outside can produce measurable reductions in cortisol and significant improvements in mood. Number 8. Address your sleep quality seriously. This one feels obvious, but people still underestimate how devastating poor sleep is for cortisol regulation. Your cortisol and sleep cycles are deeply interconnected. Each one affects the other. Poor sleep elevates cortisol. Elevated cortisol makes it harder to fall asleep and stay asleep. It becomes a vicious cycle. The key levers for better sleep are consistent sleep and wake times, a cool and dark bedroom, cutting off screens an hour before bed, avoiding alcohol close to bedtime, because alcohol destroys sleep architecture even if it helps you fall asleep initially, and getting that morning light exposure we talked about in Tip 1. If you are not protecting your sleep with the same seriousness you protect your workouts or your nutrition, you are leaving one of the most powerful cortisol tools on the table. Number 9. Incorporate adaptogens strategically. Adaptogens are a category of herbs and natural compounds that have been used for centuries in traditional medicine systems and are now gaining serious scientific attention. The most well-researched adaptogen for cortisol specifically is ashwagandha. Multiple human clinical trials have shown that ashwagandha supplementation can significantly reduce cortisol levels, lower perceived stress, improve sleep quality, and reduce anxiety symptoms compared to placebo. The typical studied dose is somewhere between 300 to 600 milligrams of a root extract per day. Other adaptogens worth knowing about include rhodiola rosea, which is particularly helpful for fatigue and mental stress, and phosphatidylserine, which has direct evidence for blunting exercise-induced cortisol spikes. As always, consult with a healthcare provider before adding supplements, especially if you have existing health conditions or take medications. Number 10. Reframe your relationship with control. This last one is psychological, and I know some people will roll their eyes, but bear with me because this is actually one of the most powerful and evidence-supported cortisol interventions that exists. Research consistently shows that the perception of having no control over a situation is one of the most potent activators of the cortisol stress response. It is not just the stressor itself. It is whether you feel helpless in the face of it. Cognitive reframing means actively shifting how you interpret a situation. Instead of seeing a difficult situation as something happening to you, you look for what you can control within it. What action can you take? What can you accept and release? This is not toxic positivity or pretending things are fine. It is genuinely changing the cognitive appraisal of a threat, which changes the neurological and hormonal response to it. Practices like journaling, therapy, meditation, and even regular gratitude exercises have all been shown to support this reframing process and lead to measurably lower cortisol over time. Now let me bring this all together for you. Here's the thing about cortisol that most people miss. It is rarely one big thing driving it up. It is 10 small things all stacking on top of each other. The bad sleep plus the skipped breakfast, plus the 5 cups of coffee, plus the isolation, plus the relentless high-intensity workouts with no recovery, plus the doom scrolling at midnight. All of those small stressors compound into a chronically elevated cortisol baseline that quietly destroys your health, your mood, and your quality of life over years. The beautiful flip side of that is that the solution also works in compounding layers. You do not need to implement all 10 of these at once. In fact, I would strongly encourage you not to try. Pick 2 or 3 that feel most relevant to your life right now. Maybe it is morning light plus cutting off caffeine after noon, plus adding a daily walk. Do those for 2 weeks. Notice how you feel. Then layer in something else. Cortisol reduction is not a dramatic overhaul. It is a series of small daily choices that accumulate into a fundamentally different nervous system baseline. People who successfully get their cortisol under control almost always describe the same experience. They sleep better. Their thinking gets clearer. The anxiety that used to feel constant starts to feel occasional. The belly fat that would not budge starts responding. They feel calmer without feeling sedated. They handle the same amount of life with noticeably less friction. That is what a well-regulated cortisol system actually feels like, and every single one of you watching this is capable of getting there. The tools are not complicated. They are not expensive. Most of them cost nothing at all. What they require is consistency and a genuine belief that your daily habits are shaping your biology in real time, because they absolutely are. If you found value in this video, make sure you subscribe because we talk about this kind of practical, science-backed health optimization every single week. And drop a comment below telling me which of these 10 tricks you are going to try first. I read every single one and would genuinely love to know. There is a video right over here that goes deeper into morning routines that keep cortisol optimized all day long, and I think if you watch this one to the end, you are going to love that one too. I will see you there.